What's happening, guys? Happy Friday and welcome to the Week 11 edition of Sleep Stream Stash. I am your host, Memphis. We do want to apologize for being a couple of minutes late. Me and my co-host were debating the pros and cons of AI. And apparently I found out that ChatGPT is the boomer version of AI, but we'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. With me, both my co-hosts this week. First, we got my boy Jonny at the Fantasy Picasso. What's up, Jonny?
No AI in these takes, boy.
No, yeah, we were talking about, are you worried
about?
about AI taking your jobs? And I was like, I'd like to see AI make a dick joke. And with me on the other side, my man from the greater Seattle area, Mr. Evan Ringler at Evan Ringler FF. What's going on, Ev?
What up? Happy to be here.
Yeah, buddy. We're gonna rip this thing up. Week 11. This is kind of that NFL doldrums, right? Like the games last week were so bad. Like if you tried to watch the 4:00 games because buys, they extract the extra game for the European slate. We got Thursday night, we got Monday night, and that 4 p.m. slate last Sunday was as bad as I recall in a while. Every game was a blowout. Now, fantasy points were being scored, but from a consumer base, tough right now. But well, yeah.
And then the Monday night game too, which was supposed to be the best game of the week.
Well, we've been streaming the Dynasty War Zones on Thursday. It's on the Player Profiler Now Plus YouTube channel. But we said this, the NFL this week bookended this with really shitty games. You had the Thursday night game, not last night, but last Thursday, you had the Broncos and the Raiders, 10-7. And then we ended that poop sandwich. The bun on the other end was the Packers and the Eagles, which is supposed to be the marquee game of the week. It was supposed to be I stopped watching it. I'll be honest. I started watching YouTube and I had it pulled up on a tablet. You know, the little ESPN Gamecast. I'm like, I'll just keep an eye on. I can't watch. I just can't stomach this anymore. But I love the games. I'll start with Evan. Evan, how's your fantasy seasons going? Whether it's redraft, dynasty, all in all. Good, bad, or indifferent?
I would say that in my big money dynasty leagues, it is going incredibly well. But in the more casual, like $10 ESPN leagues, I am just all over the place. I have some really bad teams. And as always, my Scott Fishbowl team was dead within a month. That's just here, how it goes every year.
My biggest fail is my Scott Fishbowl team, bro. Everybody else is doing fine. I was dead on arrival drafting Joe Mixon. Like, I should have known better, but
you know, after 3 bad years in a row, the very first year I played was either 7 or 8, and I made it to the final 16. Now, mind you, it wasn't a 10,000 entry league or whatever it is now. It's well into like 4,000 or 5,000. It was maybe 500 or whatever it was at the time, and I've done poorly since. And then this year, I am currently 3rd in my league, and I'm 16-4. Because you score against the win and then you score against the average. So I'm in 3rd. I'm going to be in the Scott Fishbowl playoffs. For me, it's just always having faith in my guys. If you do one of those queries, my most owned quarterbacks in Dynasty and whatever, if you do the sleepers, Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. And here we are. You can't get enough Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. Before we start getting into the topic, I was thinking about this, like with the quarterback position, especially from Dynasty. Do you see more teams just given? I'll start with Jonny on this one. Do you see teams just giving more quarterbacks like that rookie deal, like that rookie contract? They'll give them the first round deal, but if they don't pan out, they're just going to be done. Because I just don't think teams want to be in the position of the Cardinals, the Jags, the Dolphins, where you're paying Tua and Kyler and Trevor Lawrence $45 to $50 million a year for mediocre play. Is the quarterback position going to start getting treated more like the other running positions?
Running back. We can get a guy on a cheap deal. We can just pull in Carson Wentz from off the street, and he can replicate your production. Jacoby Brissett, right? Like these guys, these old guys are showing some juice here, and I think it's more of an outlier season. And I think the question that you're asking is so tough because they earn it 1 minute and then they get the contract and they don't earn it. They don't play like they were worth it. I think the one example where that really it wasn't the case and it was just a bad move early was Trevor Lawrence. Like, make him play out that final year of his deal. He was already not earning that giant contract. They just were like, oh, we got to lock up this guy early. Go get our guy. It's like, you really might have been better off hanging on to Mac Jones, right? So it's just such a tough decision because then you let a guy like that walk, who's like one of the best prospects of all time, Trevor Lawrence, right? And then somebody else turns him into a renaissance project like a Sam Darnold, and he starts lighting it on fire because he has the tools. And then that looks really bad as if you're the GM and you give up on that guy. So
and what Jonny said there is that Trevor Lawrence is going to win 2 Super Bowls when he winds up in LA,
32 years old,
with Sean McVay just ripping it up. What about you, Evan? Because like the thing that I take away from this is, from a dynasty standpoint especially, is that when you get that quarterback that's proven, that's good, hang on to him. Because there's not a trade. Like, if you have a Patrick Mahomes and it's an easy Josh Allen, Lamar, whoever, if you have that guy, don't let go of him. And the reason why I transitioned to that is, like, Drake May. How close is Drake May to your QB1 in Dynasty right now?
It's literally a 50-50 coin flip for me. Just updated the Dynasty rankings this morning and kept Josh Allen ahead just until Drake May has another big game, and then I'll probably move him ahead. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's just so hard to find good quarterbacks in both NFL and in Dynasty. Quarterback evaluation is the trickiest part of football, honestly. So while, yes, everybody was clowning on the Tua and Trevor Lawrence contracts when they first came out, it's the only other option is to let him walk and then draft another quarterback and hope they're good, or bring in Daniel Jones, but in a bad situation, and all of a sudden he sucks again. So I don't know. I think this is kind of how it's going to continue to go from an NFL perspective, because teams are so desperate to find that good quarterback that if they just see the flashes, then just give them the money, because otherwise we'll be shit out of luck.
From a fantasy perspective, I'll just say, like, when you find a Josh Allen and they're on the market, I don't think that, you gotta go for it. Like, I gave up 2 firsts for him a few years ago, and I'm thankful I did, because his team is in really good shape right now. And so there's those cream of the crop guys that are just difference makers. And I think you've got to be willing to pay up for them. And that's something that a lot of, like, shrewd dynasty managers don't want to do, right? But if someone's got a super asset like a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen and they're shopping them, I always want to be the first in line. I want to at least be part of those discussions. And ideally, you're getting them to share what the offers they're getting from other people and seeing if you can slightly outbid them. But you want to be in those discussions, in my perspective.
Yeah. From my experience, I don't play in a super high volume of dynasty leagues, but the only, like, I've tried to fade quarterback a couple times, and it's never worked well at all. The only successful dynasty teams I've ever built are, I need at least one elite quarterback, and a lot of times I have 2. It just gives you such a great floor over the course of several years, especially. That like these are the most predictable fantasy scores in the entire league.
Yeah, and I like to build around one stud, and then that's why I have so much Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, because I've got stud quarterbacks on those teams, and I'm always taking flyers to try to hit that QB2. But if you didn't hit your QB2 and your team's scuffling, but you want to stay in the action, you want to feel the sweat, check out Fast Draft.
Pour one out for an incredible best ball season. It was a breakout 2025 for Fast Draft, but now the NFL action has started. That means it's DFS season. That's right. You might think, oh, wow, DFS, I can't win DFS. Oh, but you can on Fast Draft. You just pick any 6 guys, and you put them in a handful of booster spots. There's no salary rubric you have to follow. You're not going up against thousands of killer bots in these tournaments. Oh, no. These are regular people grabbing their 6 favorite plays of the week, and that's all you have to do. And we post the ownership so that you can choose how much chalk you want. There is no drafting. It's called the Quick 6 Super Slam. The Quick 6 Super Slam is the signature DFS contest at Fast Draft. It is changing DFS. We are making DFS great again. So go to fastdraft.app and use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. And let's go start drafting faster.
I guess I'll give you my other show's code. Use Warzone, all one word, all caps. That'll get you that deposit match the Podfather was talking about. And we'll move on to the show. We got sleepers and we got streamers and we got stashes, as well as we'll get to the questions.
Memphis, before we get into the sleepers, streamers, and stashes, there's one topic that I want to touch on with you guys.
Let's go.
If we can spend a couple minutes. Drake freaking London missed week 8, but in his past 4 games, he has been not a wide receiver 1, the wide receiver 1 in 3 of the last 4 games he's played. We have a 31.8 game, a 38.8, and a 24.4 performance last week. I mean, wide receiver 1 in 3 of the last 4 games he's played. And we think about how he ended 2024 with Michael Penix on that like elite tear, had a 40-point game, really this just is a target monster in that offense. So I say all that because I'm in a league, I'm making a push for the championship, and I paid up. I paid up to get Drake London, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I got rid of my 2026 first, Travis Etienne, Oronde Gadsden, and a 2026 fourth. Pretty big haul. Was tough departing with Gadsden, but I have Laporta. It's just a single tight end league. It was either that or give up a second first. It was hard, but like as we've talked about, I've got a lot of a Gadsden exposure. I picked him up on the low in a lot of leagues, so I'm kind of trying to diversify. What do you guys think of that trade? Do you think that Drake Allen is up there, or Drake London is up there in that tier of guys in that like wide receiver 5 to 8 range in Dynasty? And is he worth what I paid for him?
Did you say 26 first, right?
Yes. Projected to be
yeah.
late. I'm second in the league right now, and I won last year. And again, I've got Jefferson, who, again, by all accounts, London is the better start, you know. And then I've got Devontae Adams. I have Garrett Wilson, who's on IR. I got Stephon Diggs. I got a whole list of guys, but they only start 7 in this league. So it's all about getting those true difference makers. So I figured, I got to get a guy like Drake London down the playoff stretch.
I love it, man. I don't have any issue with that. Just Gadsden in the first, basically.
Right.
Honestly, I don't really see how that bites you unless Oronde Gadsden literally turns into Brock Bowers. You're going to be just fine.
Which he kind of could, but it was like
he could
start giving up your 27 first, and then you had no first rounders the next few years. So it was. I figured I was kind of selling high somewhat, you know.
Yeah, and you still have your 27 first, which is a much more valuable asset, anyways.
Okay, I didn't get.
I remember that Scott Fishbowl that I was humbly bragging about when we started the show. Guess who's one of my wide receivers on that team? Drake London. You don't have to tell me. Michael Penix has not been good, and that has not hurt. That has not hurt Drake London one bit. Michael Penix attempted 28 passes last week, a completed 12, and half of those went to Drake London, including the 2-point conversion that was crucial for them, where he broke Sauce Gardner's ankles right there. I was like, that man's got a family. You're going to do that to him, right? I think Drake London will continue to give you. I think he's going to give you the rest of this season and probably the next 2. He's going to give you that CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, maybe not, maybe a lot better than Justin Jefferson. But my point is he's going to give you that wide receiver 1 through 5 production. And you didn't pay anywhere near for him what you would have to pay for a Jamar Chase, a CD Lamb, one of those type of guys. So I think you did well. And I love Gadsden. But remember, it's kind of like it's game plan dependent. And we've not even seen the running back overly involved in the passing game since Hampton's been out. You're still going to have Quentin Johnson, who's, less buttery fingered than he used to be. You got Ladd McConkey. Keenan Allen is awesome. He's doing the veterans work, teaching these young guys. So Gadsden's going to be okay. But I think if Gadsden became Laporta, that's about right, because they've got Gibbs. They've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You didn't hurt yourself at all, and you gave yourself, in my opinion, one of the 5 to 6 best wide receivers in the league. And you didn't pay anywhere near that. I think you crushed that deal.
Thanks. Yeah, because I thought about it through a similar lens of like, man, if this had the name value of a Justin Jefferson or CD Lamb, like you're not even entertaining it unless there's multiple firsts, right? So glad we talked about it, because I think there's a little bit of knowledge in there for the other, the viewers is like, get a guy like him at, a somewhat of a discount, because I think people are still asleep at the wheel a little bit that this guy is putting together wide receiver 1 finishes consistently now.
And I do love the humbleness of Jonny to be able to run it by somebody. But I will end this, and Jerry and I next Thursday we're going to do a trade special, because some leagues, not great ones, have trade deadlines. But this has always been my philosophy in Dynasty. You have to be willing to lose trades to win leagues.
Absolutely.
Don't
Could not
agree
more.
Don't be afraid to lose a trade to win the league, because that's how it works. All right, let's get into this show, because I want to save time for questions. Jonny, right back. I think that's you. No, it's Evan. Evan, you have the first sleeper. Give us your sleeper. He's our thumbnail boy, as always. Shout out to Garrett, our artiste and producer.
Yes, sir. My sleeper of the week is Michael Wilson, who's currently ranked as my wide receiver 27 coming into this game. With Marvin Harrison Jr. out this week due to appendicitis, Wilson steps in as the wide receiver 1 for Brissett. He matches up against the 49ers, who have a bottom 5 pass defense over the last month since Fred Warner got injured. It's also an above-average matchup for fantasy wide receivers. And I expect the Cardinals to be in a pass-heavy game script because the 49ers are just a better team than the Cardinals. Not only is Marv out, but the Cardinals wide receiver 3, Zay Jones, also out. Their top 3 receivers coming into this game are Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and Xavier Weaver. While it's tough for me to paint Michael Wilson in a positive light with data, like specifically his metrics, because none of them are very good. He isn't in a great spot to excel this week, just kind of by default. I currently have him ranked at wide receiver 27, as I mentioned, and huge Podfather guy a couple of years ago as well. So maybe this is finally the breakout.
He was huge for me as a rookie. I was thinking he could have been that T. Higgins role in that offense. And what I thought was going to be it ended up being Marvin Harrison Jr.'s in the T. Higgins role, and then Trey McBride's in the target hog role. But because if you're the defensive coordinator and you're driving to the stadium, you're Robert Saleh. Who are you trying to take away from the Cardinals? You're going to do everything in your power not to let Trey McBride beat you. And if Michael Wilson beats me, then Michael Wilson beats me. And we got our boys roster watch in the chat saying Michael Wilson certified DAWG dog. We agree, guys. We agree. Jonny, anything on Michael Wilson from your end?
Yeah, I love this call. This is the benefit of being the first one in the show sheet, because I've been there. I've been stealing some of the lowest hanging fruit, and so I went in there. I thought about doing Greg Dortch just because like deep sleep, and to your point, he's probably going to be thrusted into a bigger role. But he really is a gadget guy. The snap share just hasn't been there. Michael Wilson is certified wide receiver 1 for them. I thought this is just a funny nugget. When I was at the combine this year, I asked Alik Iomanor, like, who's he model his game after? He said, I grew up, when I was at Stanford, I was watching Michael Wilson, and I love the way he approaches the game, the way he goes about it. That's who I learned from. I like that because it was a real answer, right? A lot of people will say, oh, I watched Jamar Chase and stuff. It's like, no, I craft my game after Michael Wilson. And I'm in a league this week where the guy I'm playing with has Michael Wilson in his flex over Ricky Pearsall, who will probably play. He might switch him in now, and then he has him in over Khalil Shakir as well. So I'm kind of cool with that. I'm like, yeah, you want to go throw in Michael Wilson instead of like certified guys who've shown they can do it and put 20 points up, fine. But it's just interesting because this guy sees the bump this week too, right? And we can't not talk about how Jacoby Brissett just is slinging it, right? And so this is going to be another game where he's just slinging it. He's got to sling it to somebody. I love the Xavier Weaver call out in a deep league. Shout out my guy from CU. He's a solid player. He's a little undersized, but he's actually not a bad player. So it'll be a fun week to watch Jacoby make lemonade out of like old moldy lemons.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that Iomanor anecdote. Now I know for sure that Alik Iomanor is not good at football,
and Michael Wilson, right? That's right.
All right. Well, I agree with you guys. I also have the other sleeper this week, and I'm going Sean Tucker from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you look at last week from the snap share, Rachaad White had more actual snaps on the field. He played 72% of the offensive snaps to Sean Tucker's 32%, but Tucker had 9 carries to Rachaad White's 10. So even though Rachaad White was on the field more, the carry distribution was even. And Buffalo has been horrible against the run. They give up the 7th most points to the fantasy position. Now, the one thing that concerns me is that Rachaad White continues to be more involved in the passing game. He had 5 catches last week. But I could easily see Sean Tucker stealing a goal line touchdown. And I know Bucky's questionable, but I've read doubtful. I don't think you're going to see him this week. Is he officially out now?
No, it's just Bowles said something like he might not play next week. So you think he's going to play this week?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because I've seen every designation from questionable to doubtful. Yeah. And if you hear that on Friday, that's enough for me to know he's likely not playing again. So if you're looking, and guys, it's week 11 with the injuries and everything. If you're looking for someone that can maybe help you with some buys, maybe you have Jonathan Taylor and you have nothing else behind him and Taylor's on bye, Sean Tucker might be enough. Evan, anything on Sean Tucker?
Yeah, really fun player. It is an interesting matchup. So I have Rachaad White in PPR just ranked barely above Tucker because I'm kind of expecting the Bills to have a little bit of a bounce back game and be in the lead. But in like half PPR, it's Sean Tucker, no questions asked.
All right. Well, see, this is when you know you got great co-hosts because sometimes the show sheet writes itself. We're going to go from one Tucker to another Tucker, and that's one of our streamers, and that's one of Johnny's streamers. Johnny, what gentleman with the last name Tucker do you want to stream this week?
Yeah, I'm Raiders wild because the other guy I'm going to talk about is a Raider. But I think it's just because this is a time to start looking at these guys against Dallas, right? We talked about how we couldn't pick on Dallas last week because they were on a bye. Well, guess what? They play football this week, and someone's going to light them up. And even if it is Geno Smith, who's played terribly, right? Tre Tucker, 5,100 on DraftKings, same price as guys like Parker Washington, $400 cheaper than guys like Wandale, who's got a brutal matchup against Green Bay. This guy literally played Tre Tucker 100% of the snaps last week, has never been below 88% in a game this year. So he's clearly the wide receiver 1. There's not a worse passing defense out there. They have made some reinforcements in the running game with the trade deadline, the Cowboys getting Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson. But again, that, if anything, would make me think that the Raiders are going to want to pass more and attack the vulnerability that's there. So we've seen Tucker show a 40-point ceiling earlier this year, and he's kind of died off, right? The heat's died off. The price has gone down. I think this is a great time to get back in there, and he could go absolutely nuts against Dallas. So that's my streamer of the week.
I'm not going to spoil your stash, but I would start Evan against the Cowboys. He could easily he could easily get a 6 for 60 out of the slot, but Tre Tucker could easily go over the top and get us big points. Evan, anything on Tre Tucker for you?
Yeah, you haven't seen my release package, man. I got some.
You got feet. Good feet.
Yeah. I was split between Michael Wilson and Tre Tucker, so I'm glad that Jonny grabbed him. This is just a smash spot. I'm expecting just fireworks in this game. 2 of the worst defenses in the league with 2 quarterbacks that I think can sling it, although I know Geno has really, really struggled this year, and it's been painful to watch. But I think this is a game where he can still put up 300 passing yards, and Tre Tucker is easily his wide receiver 1, it looks like. So, yeah, love this.
And it's going to be on turf. You know, turf always a faster track. I don't remember if it was in Vegas, which is a full dome, or Dallas, the partial dome, but it should be conducive to scoring. I have the other streamer, and I'm going Tyler Higbee, $2,700 on DraftKings. And this is a matchup play. First of all, every guy and some of the ladies over the age of 30, when you saw the video of Devonta Adams, when he hurt his for him, he's a specimen, you know, so it's not a love handle, but it's in that love handle area, like right above your glute. If you haven't seen it, you can go to @DWZ Memphis. I tweeted it out. He goes, speaking of his release, he was going to do his little stutter step, and he just like pulls up and grabs his hip. And I'm like, brother, I've been there. We have all been there. So I bring up Tyler Higbee because Seattle, that defense has been just tough this year. I mean, Evan, you're a Seattle fan. They're middle of the road to match up for quarterbacks from a fantasy standpoint, and that's because the quarterback gets the garbage time points, right? They've had 3 30-point leads this year, which is crazy. So quarterbacks have to pass. 7th toughest matchup for the running back, 5th toughest matchup for the wide receiver, but only the 24th toughest or the 9th easiest matchup for the tight end. And by DK scoring, it's the 3rd best matchup for the tight end. He's dirt cheap. He's going for less than guys like Michael Mayer, Will Dissly.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Michael Mayer, 2,900. Hunter Long, 2,900. And you can get Tyler Higbee in a game that's probably going to be in the 24 to 27 range. And again, this is the one, I don't want to say weak spot, but I pulled up some stats. George Kittle, is having a good game against these. Pat Freiermuth, going down my list. Juwan Johnson, 6 for 51. And then last week, take it with a grain of salt because he's Trey McBride in a big deficit, but 9 for 127. I don't think it's hard to see him I was just saying Evan could get 6 for 60. He could get 6 for 60 and a touchdown. And at $2,700 in a DFS format, I think that's an absolutely a great price and an easy stream. And I'll kick to Evan first because, again, he is our resident Seattle fan. Is that a fair take by me that the tight end position it's not a chink in the armor, but it's the one position that has had some success against this Mike McDaniel's offense, defense?
Yeah, I think that is probably fair. And, like every single NFL analyst you hear talk about this game, they're going to be talking about the Seahawks 12 personnel and the Rams 13 personnel. That's what it all has come down to, why their offenses have been so successful this year. So it'll be super fun to watch. I cannot wait for this game. It's going to be so cool.
Be a good one.
So cool.
Probably be the most fun game to watch this weekend. I think my one concern is I'm a resident Higbee fan. I think I've had him on my one of my picks throughout the weeks, and I loved what he did coming back from injury last year and was kind of a target hog in the playoffs for the Rams. My one concern though, man, is to your point, 3 tight ends out there a lot of the time, right. A lot of usage of all 4 tight ends. Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson had a game last week. Terrence Ferguson has been getting more acclimated, and then they've got Davis Allen just as a thorn in the side, right? So it's just, I really wish there was more consolidation there, and that we knew which one it was going to be, because it will be, one of them will have 10 plus fantasy points. It's almost guaranteed, but it's just so hard for me to pick which one. But at that price, $2,700, Higbee's kind of the guy who we all expect to be the leader in that room. So I like it, but that's still my one concern.
Yeah, and most of the time, the guy will be Higbee, but it's like that's 40% to the other guy's 30% chance of putting up 10 points. Might be a Colby Parkinson revenge game too. People are talking. I don't know.
And I people are talking. And we're going to go to stashes. I'm going to throw in a bonus. He mentioned that if you play in dynasty leagues where you're looking for a second-year breakout, man, Terrence Ferguson, 100% on my list. I loved him coming out this past rookie evaluation season, and they're always going to defer to the veteran. I'm praying, because it's hard to ask anyone to be the next Trey McBride, where you have the crusty veteran in front of you that was Zach Ertz. They get rid of him. Trey McBride becomes Trey McBride. I would love for that to be – I think that's like the wish scenario for Terrence Ferguson, but just keep an eye on him with the stashes. But I'm going to go back to Jonny. You have another stash. You have another Raider. And speaking of guys that I loved coming out of this rookie evaluation season from Dynasty, you have one of my guys. So please go ahead.
Yeah, I think everybody was super high on this guy starting the season, and it's just kind of cratered. That's Dante Thornton Jr., 4th round pick from the Las Vegas Raiders. So again, we just are looking at stashes, people who can gain value and be a asset for you next year, or a trade piece before the deadline. And so no Jacoby Myers means he's going to get an extended look over the next few weeks. I was a little hesitant to list this guy because there's some really tough matchups down the stretch there. Like if you look at the wide receiver matchups, they're pretty unfavorable for the rest of the year for the Raiders. But I think that's actually a good thing in this scenario, because we can really see if he's worth hanging on to long term. From measurables, this guy's 6'5", 205 pounds, only 22 years old, ran a 4.30 40. That's in the 99th percentile, 126.5 speed score from Player Profiler, which is in an 100th percentile. The dude is a total outlier in terms of athleticism, even some of his average depth of target metrics from college, his yards per route run. He's got all this stuff that makes him so enticing, but people have started to sour on him where he's either on waivers or people are looking to get him off their roster. But he's just the type of guy you want to stash with that upside. He's been fighting with Jack Besh kind of back and forth throughout the weeks for snaps, but had almost 3 times as many snaps as Jack Besh next week. They got the ghost of Tyler Lockett getting about 60% snaps out there as well. But I'd love to see him, again, like we talked about, potentially bust a long one against the Cowboys this week. And then in a week or two, we're talking about him in a completely different light.
Yeah, you said everything that I love about him. I love the athletic profile, and he just needs the opportunity. And I think if that's what the Raiders should be doing. Spytech, their GM, this is a great opportunity to evaluate over these last 7 games who's viable for 2026 and who's not. Do we have a guy or do we not? And he's going to get an opportunity. And if you don't stash him now, the price potentially goes up if he has a breakout. Evan, anything on Thornton Jr.? And then give us your final stash. I like your stash, by the way.
Yeah, I think Thornton is a pretty good stash. Obviously, there's huge upside with that kind of athletic profile. I think this is kind of how we should have expected it to go, though. I mean, he was not productive at all in college. Like, he never even hit a 10% target share in the season. His senior year, he was 660 receiving yards on 26 catches.
Wild.
25 yards per reception is insane. But yeah, I don't really understand why there was so much hype about him other than he flashed in training camp a couple times. But yeah, at this point, he's a good stash because he's going to be super cheap, if not free. You can just pick him up, throw him on the bottom of your bench. So I like it. And then going into my stash, I went with Mac Jones. So obviously Brock Purdy is coming back this week, so we're not expecting Mac Jones to play the rest of the season. He does have one more year under contract with the 49ers, but I would still say it's more likely than not that he's starting somewhere next year because he was legitimately good for the 49ers this year. 10th in completion percentage over expected, 6th in success rate, and 13th in EPA per play. Those are really good numbers that are better than a lot of starting quarterbacks out there. So this might be more of a Daniel Jones type situation where going into next year, he has to win the job. But Mac has been genuinely good this year. And if he can land in a good spot, he could easily have a dynasty resurgence like we've seen with Baker, Darnold, or Daniel Jones.
I co-sign. You're gonna have to help convince John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to trade him, because to have a backup that can win, what's he won, 6 games, if I remember correctly, something like that, as the starter this year for them, and that's a team that I think it's a little bit past the big time competition window, but they need him. That would be my one concern, but I'm still fine because I think he's 26, 27. So even if he has to sit another year in San Francisco, there's a good chance he plays games. I'm not going to go and use the injury prone label on Brock Purdy, but he's not been healthy the last 2 years. And he got hurt at the end of 3 years ago in the playoffs where he hurt his elbow. And had they not won that game, he might not have been able to have played in the Super Bowl. So when you're a good backup behind a quarterback with some injury struggles, he may be stuck there. But yeah, there's a good chance you could use him next year regardless of if he's in San Francisco. I love this, and I love the call. Johnny, anything on Mac Jones? Who?
Man, I love it. I also struggle with it because I'm in a single QB league where I'm like, I got Mahomes.
Oh,
and
no,
then
you have to cut him in single QB. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, it's a deep roster where I like taking some shots on guys. Like I have Tyler Shook, I have Will Howard, and I'm like, man, Will Howard, I watched the video. He's getting the Rodgers release down. He's getting the fake handoffs down. Like Rodgers is 41. There might be a starting opportunity there. So I know I sound crazy, but that's where I'm like, I start to actually get in a little bit of a crux of like, do you go with a guy like Mac Jones who's shown some juice, but we know he doesn't have legs? It's 4-point touchdown league I'm in. Or do you kind of shoot for the stars with some of those rookies with more unknown upside? So I think that's where I struggle with it a little bit, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to drop Will Howard for him, even though Evan's about to laugh me off the stage, but I'm just telling you where my head's at.
I don't get it, man. What are we talking about? This is a guy who's actually won 6 games in the NFL and put up genuinely good stats this year. But you want to just go with the 6th-round rookie who hasn't played ever.
Won a college football championship and looked terrible at the combine. Hell yeah.
Yeah. He didn't even look good during the playoffs that year.
He has never really looked good on film. I'm not arguing that, but there's something about sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, man, that actually resonates with me a little bit, Sure. I don't know. Again, we play this game based on hunches and gut feelings sometime. And I think with these types of guys, one way or the other, you can't be wrong.
You know who else sat behind Aaron Rodgers for a while? Kurt Benkert. How's he doing?
Yeah, I went to high school with Kurt Benkert. I know Kurt, but he still won't follow me back. But I know Kurt.
That feels like he's big timing you.
Yeah, he got Hollywood as hell on everybody he went to high school with. Acts like he didn't even remember me. I'm like,
so maybe Will Howard could get to that level.
Yeah.
Well, let me.
Could be really good at Madden.
We're going to get to some questions, but let me paint a prophecy for you. Mac Jones plays out his contract in San Francisco next year. Next year, the 2026 season is the last season of Matt Stafford in LA. Mac Jones moves south from San Francisco down to LA, and he takes over as the starting quarterback in a very similar offense for Sean McVay, and gets to get revenge against the team that helped resurrect his career. There you go. This movie writes itself. And we have one more spot. Let's hear about Flex 6.
I know you're sad draft season is over, but just because the NFL season starts doesn't mean the drafting stops, because Fast Draft has the Flex 6 frenzy. You're drafting 6 guys for the Sunday slate. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun. And as with everything on Fast Draft, there are no salaries. Woo! So go to draftfaster.com, get the app, use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
I don't think we're obligated to play 2 commercial spots a show, but I will play that commercial just to hear the Podfather say there are no salaries, and you can't make me not do it. So we're going to jump into questions. We got one from George, and George says, "Hey gentlemen, play 2 half-point PPR, Tyron Tracy, AJB, AJ Brown, Rashad White, Zay Flowers. Thank you." I'll start with Evan. What do you think there?
AJ Brown is going to have a big game. I'm calling it right now. Obviously, just the most squeaky wheel game of all time. And then the other spot, I like Tracy over Rashad White.
Okay, Johnny.
Yeah, man, it's tough for me to say that they got to bench Zay Flowers though, right? And I think if anything, I may go with like what I know I've seen in terms of steady production from Zay Flowers versus AJ Brown, who's just it's a nightmare, you know? So, but again, I think to your point, I might lean AJ Brown and Zay Flowers in that regard, because like Tyrone Tracy's been a little disheartening too, in terms of Singletary being a little more involved. I know the snap share was solid last week, but it's not, Evan, as well as I do, there's like weighted opportunities, right? And the value of the touches that they're scheming up for these running backs. And it just doesn't feel like Tyrone Tracy's getting a lot of high value work. No Jackson Dart, right? And so Jameis Winston could move the ball, or he could really struggle against Green Bay, right? So, let's go with AJ Brown, because to your point, you still gotta start your studs, right? Like the guy has so much pedigree. And then I'm going Zay Flowers just because, they probably blow out the Browns, but I think Flowers could be a part of that, right? He could put up a touchdown or 2.
I don't know. That Browns defense it's a legit.
Well, it's legit at home. They've given up at least 27 points in every road game this year, but this game's in Cleveland. And it's got one of the lowest point totals of the week, and the Lions and Eagles have one of the better totals of the week. And I think they're going to need A.J. Brown. What a perfect week to grease the skids with A.J. Brown. In a game where you're probably going to have to score points because with Dan Campbell calling plays, it's going to be J-Mo. It's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's going to be Gibbs. And it's hopefully going to be a much better game than we got against the Packers last week. And then I don't mind the Tyron Tracy call. Rashad White, because I like Sean Tucker. I think Sean Tucker is going to be involved with potential touchdown vulture. And I love Zay Flowers, but I agree with the Cleveland defense. And then George threw in on the back end. Do you like Dulcich, Musgrave, or Muth? Oh, Freiermuth. Okay.
Man, you butchered two of those names.
Have you heard me speak? It's not your first day.
I love Pat Freiermuth as a sleeper this week. He's going up against the Bengals defense, who are not just the worst defense against tight ends this season. They are the worst defense against tight ends ever. So yeah, I want to attack that. Obviously, Freiermuth's going to be on the field, and he's their best receiving tight end, in my opinion.
Out of the three. The problem is the guy from Georgia, the guy who might as well be a right tackle.
Hell yeah.
Drawing a blank on his name.
Washington.
Yeah, Washington. He pilfers a lot of touchdowns there at the goal line. But
they're all getting there this week, though.
Well, yeah, because it's the Bengals. What do you think, Johnny? You in on Pat Freiermuth?
I'm surprised you didn't jump at Musgrave, man, just from the usage, right? Like we talked about the Dynasty rankings, wanting to be ahead of him, a kind of compared to consensus. It's not a committee there in terms of who's running the routes at tight end. It's Luke Musgrave. And so for me, like that alone, it's a Giants defense they're probably going to beat up on. I'd probably lean Musgrave just because with tight end specifically, I'm really prioritizing those guys who aren't fighting for against other guys in their tight end room for targets.
Yeah, I really just don't know what to do with these Green Bay pass catchers, man.
Yeah, that's true. Because
besides Romeo Dobbs,
spread it out to everybody. Yeah.
If you're a contender in a redraft league, go pick up Jaden Reed. He's been injured. He's been injured. He's in a dynasty. Get him as a throw-in a trade. He's only 25 years old, and he was seen at he was listed as do not practice on Wednesday. I've not seen Thursday's report, but he was working off to the side. I don't think he's coming back this week, but he's coming back soon. And he's a great guy if you're in a start 3 wide receiver league where you have to start 3 guys, and with injuries and everything, he's a great guy to stash because that's the problem. Part of the problem with the Green Bay offense is no pass catchers. So I'm going to go with Freiermuth because the matchup is just that good. I agree, but just a little extra nugget there. Quinshon Judkins or Rashad White. I will go ahead and take this one. I'm going Judkins. Baltimore, if you can, Baltimore secondary is better than their front 7 right now. And even though this will be an ugly game, I'm going to go Judkins over White, and I'll go with Evan. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, even if it's a bad game script, they're still going to give Judkins 15 to 20 carries against a pretty weak run defense. So I like that one quite a bit.
What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
It's
and then
tough
Jamie,
because it could be a blowout, but I agree.
And we'll give Jamie's podcast a shout out, the Fantasy Six Pack. His co-host traded away Cam Scattaboo and a late 26 first for Drake London. I don't think he's doing that to brag about how smart his co-host is. I think he's just trying to show up Johnny. I think it's
I'm fuming. And they just said that Sam Laporta has been ruled out. So now I got rid of Gadsden. No Laporta. I'm starting Kate Otten this week, so that's great. And this guy, I know. Kate Otten's got juice, but
we said Kate Otten. By the way,
boo-hoo! You have to start my tight end 12 this week.
We talked about Kate Otten last week, and he parlayed that into 12 targets for 9 catches.
He's a monster.
Not only when Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and the rest of the receivers are out. Let's see here. Alex wants to know, need an RB2. This one's tough for me. You got Woody Marks, you got Judkins, you got RJ Harvey. I'm gonna go right back to Johnny. What do you think here?
So no Dobbins this week. I don't know if it's official yet, but they talked about putting him on IR, which would make it sound very uncertain that he's going to play this weekend. I still get a little bit of pause that you're going to see way more Tyler Bidet and Jaleel McLaughlin than you bargained for if you start Harvey. Who I really do like is Woody Marks. This guy was playing nearly 80% of the snaps last week, has already had a 28-point game versus Tennessee, who is terrible. They got Davis Mills. I think they're going to lean on Woody Marks. I almost have Woody Marks as like a must start this week.
Yeah, I'm split between Harvey and Woody here. If Woody can maintain at least most of the usage we saw last week, because he dominated Nick Chubb in terms of usage last week. It was like super encouraging. If he does that again, then it's easily Woody Marks. But also, if you leave RJ Harvey on your bench and he puts up a big game, you're gonna feel like an idiot because you finally had your chance. Right now I have Harvey ranked slightly ahead, although Woody does have a better matchup. So it's tough.
There was some coach speak after the game that said D'Amico Ryans liked it, the way that the running back work was divvied up. I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he had an opportunity to say, I want to get Chubb more involved. This was a one-time thing. And he kind of said, no, this looked good. I like the way that Marks is attacking the ball. Like, he's doing all the right things. So there was a lot of positive praise coming out of that game. This was an awesome game last week they played, right? The Texans against the Jags, like, fought till the bitter end, came back and won a game they had no business winning. And I think that builds a lot of, like, strength in the locker room of, like, okay, the guys who went out and did that, we're going to lean on those guys.
Yeah, how I'm kind of projecting this Broncos backfield at the moment is in terms of carries, I would say 70% of it goes to RJ Harvey and like 25% to Jaleel McLaughlin, and then the rest for Tyler Bidet. And then the receiving work probably stays mostly the same with Harvey and Bidet just kind of splitting it 50-50.
I mean, for me, this is the Tennessee Titans are the fourth best matchup for the fantasy running back. And I like the point about bringing up last week's game. You were down 19 points. And the coach saw Woody Marks be a big part of that. So let's get Woody going early so you don't have to come back from a 19-point deficit. Again, it's against Tennessee, so shouldn't be that tough of a matchup. And I know it's great to want to get Nick Chubb involved, but Nick Chubb's dust. And what happened to Joe Mixon? You know, Jonny mentioned him earlier with the Scott Fishbowl. Is he in jail? Did his leg fall off? I mean, did something bad happen?
They botched a foot surgery. That's what happened.
Oh, okay.
Allegedly, he had a surgery without telling the team, and there's just a whole saga around that. But
so putting him back on the field puts them at risk of being liable to pay his contract. And I see that. It makes sense. Yeah,
and then another thing right on that same line is J.K. Dobbins got injured 8 days ago, and we don't know anything about it. What's going on with that?
Could he go? Could go to what the
NFL needs to
this year, dude.
They need to fix their rules around injury reporting. It's a complete joke.
It's got. You would think with gambling being at an all-time high and coming off of the issues with the NBA, you would want transparency. You had the Lamar Jackson thing. Transparency has got to be an all-time high. Yep. I joked a couple of weeks ago. It's like all of a sudden, Chauncey Billups gets arrested for allegedly, gambling, and the one guy Porter, they were like tipping off people to games. And all of a sudden, Tua and the Dolphins start playing better. Draw your own conclusions. You draw your own conclusions. But you go from the day that announced and Miami's record and the way they played since then. I'm not casting dispersions. I'm just saying. Michael Wilson or Harold Fanning half-point tight end premium.
Ooh, with the tight end premium, that makes it tricky.
I gotta go Fanning almost regardless, dude. The dude's like putting up wide receiver production.
Yeah, I'm leaning Fannin here.
God, if he had you playing quarterback instead of Dylan Gabriel, I would be more bullish. And dude, flip a quarter. I don't want to be. We're trying to help you, but this is because I like Jacoby better. They're going to need to pass more.
I'm going to take a stand. I'll go Michael Wilson. The Ravens are a below average. The Ravens are a below average matchup for tight ends. So that can kind of be the deciding factor for me. I really like Michael Wilson this week.
All right. We will go with it. Geist wants to know, who is Jameis throwing to? Is there a Giants sleeper?
Okay. So he's
Evan, you have rankings.
He's throwing to Wan'Dale Robinson, who's going to have approximately a 40% target share. I haven't updated the rankings yet, but he's probably going to be in my top 20, maybe top 15 for this week. Beyond that, it is basically nobody. They have Jalen Hyatt, who they refuse to play. No matter what injuries are going on, he will never touch the field again, it seems like. Then they have Isaiah Hodgins, Gunnar Olszewski, and probably Ray McLeod getting elevated from practice squad.
But we got a new head coach, man.
Yeah, but Jalen Hyatt is horrible.
Well, is this that classic thing from Moneyball where Paul D. Podesta goes, this is Jalen Hyatt. The problem is he's not very good.
Bolitnikov winner.
Unfortunately, I don't think you can trust anybody that's not named Wandale or Theo Johnson.
Yeah, I had this pulled up, and I want to make sure I get it correct, because there was one of the guys in last week's game against the Bears had 4 for 89, and I was like, that would be the one I would go to.
Darius Slayton, baby.
It was Darius. It was
Yeah.
Darius.
He's out this week.
He's out.
Yeah.
So who's the field stretcher here of the remaining guys?
I mean, I would hope Jalen Hyatt, but like I said, it's not just that the former coaching staff hated him. It's also like the GM hates him. Everybody hates him. They all know he sucks. I guess Isaiah Hodgins or Gunnar Olszewski. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're I think what Geist is referring to, and I like this, he's looking for who's the YOLO ball recipient down there. You know, Jameis is like, you know, and by the way, little side note, you know, Jameis gets all of the love for being the kooky, fun backup quarterback. As a guy who lived the Jacoby Brissett experience firsthand, Jacoby Brissett has a lot of takes about the flat earth and dinosaurs that
Really?
made
Okay.
Jacoby's a lot of fun as well. Not Jameis fun, but pretty fun.
I'll dive in, yeah.
Jonathan Santiago, crazy for thinking of starting Flacco over Mahomes.
You know what? Funny that you mention it. I have Joe Flacco projected for 0.02 more points than Patrick Mahomes this week.
Hey,
Just a way better matchup against the Steelers pass defense compared to the Denver pass defense.
Johnny?
I will say Mahomes is matchup proof in that regard. Like he's taking teams that are terrible against great against quarterbacks and torched them.
Flacco might be matchup proof too, though. I don't know.
No, Flacco's so that all said, in 4-point passing touchdown format, I'm starting my stud. I'm starting Patrick Mahomes. He's got the rushing upside as well. In 6-point passing touchdown format, I'm probably leaning Joe Flacco because I can see him easily getting 2 to 3 passing touchdowns, and that makes a huge difference in 4-point versus 6-point passing touchdown league. So that's how I would weigh the two.
What a great analyst.
Young Jeezy. I'm going to quote the great American philosopher Young Jeezy, and I'm going to say, "No nuts, no glory." I'm going Joe Flacco.
This is crazy.
This Pittsburgh defense, excluding the Colts game, has given up I think 27 points 4 of the last 5 games. He's rolling with Jamar Chase, and he's rolling with T. Higgins, and they're coming off the bye. Joe Flacco knows the Steelers, right? This has got crazy bet the over point total on there. And say what you want about Denver's defense, and that's a group of killers. And I love Patrick Mahomes. We saw Patrick Mahomes many times over the last 2 seasons play around the QB 12. And look at Cincinnati's points per game with Flacco versus with Joe Burrow. It's virtually the same. So if you start Joe Burrow, and I'm not saying Joe Flacco's Joe Burrow, that's not what I'm saying, but in this spot, I'm playing Joe Flacco. I actually have the same decision to make in the Scott Fish Bowl this week. I've got Baker, Flacco, and Mahomes, and I will be playing Joe Flacco. All right, next question. We got to go in this. Eric Serrano, and he also is without the services of Mr. Laporta.
I think the fourth question is in the next one because you.
Well, then
you're good. Because that doesn't really get to a question there.
Yeah, I was. So Otten or Ertz?
Otten. Dude, Otten is a legit part of this offense with everybody down, and to your point, it was like it sucks that I don't have Laporta, but if you've got Otten,
unless Theo Johnson is available.
Oh, you go Theo over Otten.
Oh, easily.
With Jameis?
Theo Johnson, my tight end 5 this week.
Yeah, and Theo's coming off of, I believe, a career high in catches last week. 7 for, I don't know the yardage was a career high, but I'm pretty darn sure that 7 Again, another guy that I talked about last summer in the offseason. Go get Theo Johnson. How much
Dude,
fun? How
8
about this?
targets a game for Otten over the last 4 games.
Yeah. And
Stuff for me, dude. He's earning targets.
if you have access to like the Dynasty tools,
Oh.
if you have the all-in package, look at game splits for Cade Otten with and without Mike Evans.
The Bills are the very toughest matchup for tight ends, though. So I think it's Theo Johnson, personally.
All right, we got a couple of more, and look at that, we're right at the hour.
Wait.
Uh-oh.
We have a running bet kind of thing, right? I picked Cade Otten, and he picked Kyle Pitts a couple weeks back. Otten outscored Kyle Pitts by like 0.2, but I'm taking the W there. This week, let's put it in stone.
Let's do it.
Cade Otten versus Theo Johnson. Winner gets bragging rights on the next show.
Let's do it.
There you go. And you're making me argue against two of my favorites because I love Cade Otten.
I just am all the time willing to put my life on the line for Cade Otten.
I just wish they would use him more consistently. And we have one more question, and we will get to that, I promise. But, and I said this on the Dynasty Warzone, I never thought I would enter this week talking about I agree with Skip Bayless. But here we are. Skip Bayless said the Giants should hire John Gruden.
Ooh.
Dude, I am so here for it. Hey, how do you get John Gruden to drop his suit against the NFL? And you know what? The New York market in general, not just the Giants, can we stop going first-time head coaches in New York City? It just eats guys up. Robert Saleh, chewed him up. Aaron Glenn, not doing great. Brian Daboll, Joe Judge. First-time head coaches do not do great in New York. And for guys that love fantasy football and just love the NFL in general, how much fun would an NFL team in New York be with John Gruden, Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, Malik Neighbors, and Theo Johnson?
Yeah.
We could all become. Come on, man.
Theo Johnson is the cornerstone.
He's like the fifth Beatle. He's like the fifth Beatle. You know, we don't talk enough about Theo. All right, we have one last question. Where did that go? Abreu, or is it? Yeah, it looks like Bobby Abreu. If Bobby Abreu is watching and listening to this podcast, we love that. And the picture's a baseball guy. It has to be Bobby Abreu. All right, Cleveland, Dallas, or Chicago D also have FPPR, full point PPR. AJ Brown, Parker, Tez,
Washington.
Or Franklin.
Pick 2.
Okay, so the defense, I think it has to be Chicago versus JJ McCarthy.
Or his alter ego 9.
Yeah. The Bears against 9. I think that one's pretty easy for me. And then the receivers, you have to start AJ Brown. I know you don't want to, neither do I, but you got to do it. It's just the best squeaky wheel game ever. I think he's gonna go off. And then the other receiver, oh man, I have Tez Johnson, but barely. I have those 3 guys super close.
Yep. Same across the board. Chicago defense, AJ Brown. Shout out my sleeper of the week last week, put up 20.2 fantasy points. Tez Johnson.
Hell yeah.
I think he could do it. The thing with Parker Washington, who I like, by the way, like this guy's returning punt returns. He's earning targets. It's still a pretty tough matchup against the Chargers. And I don't love Trevor Lawrence, right? So I'm going to lean Tez Johnson in a game that's like a sneaky shootout. Well, it's not even sneaky. It's the Bills versus the Bucks. We want to be invested in that game from a fantasy perspective. Troy Franklin's been fantastic, but that Chiefs defense does give people fits, and I think Bo Nix could have some trouble this week against them.
Yeah, and I will start with the first one first. So I have 3 rules in life. 1, never get romantically involved with a woman that has a tattoo of a dagger. Never play poker with a guy whose first name is the name of a city, and never start a fantasy defense against Lamar Jackson.
I think we need a story time here. What's going on?
Are you really good at poker, Memphis?
If you want to play poker, we can.
I was more curious about the dagger.
But never, ever play a defense against Lamar Jackson. Never. You want he doesn't turn the ball over a super ton. He's likely to put 28 points up on you. And if I got to fade one of the quarterbacks, even though Geno's crazy, absolutely not. And then AJ Brown. I am all in on AJ Brown this week because the spot dictates it. He's on Twitch. He's complaining about his quarterback and his coach, and he wants out of there. We'll see what happens in the offseason, but you got to do those things. But that's all the questions, guys. Evan, give me a winner. And you know what? I'm not going to ask you because I know who you'll say. Jonny, give me a winner. Seattle versus the Rams. My opinion, game of the week. 2 7-2 teams for first place in the NFC West.
Dude, I'm like more of a Rams fan because I'm a Broncos fan, and I've always hated Seattle ever since Super Bowl 48. But dude, God dang, are they a good team this year? I mean, the defense is phenomenal. Darnold's playing the best, in football from a quarterback, and it's such a friendly scheme for him, the way that offense is ran. When you talked about like the Giants and a coach, a first-time head coach who I think could fit in well there is Clint Kubiak. With someone like Jackson Dart, he could get a lot out of him. But I love what you said about like that being the place where first-time head coaches go to die. Long story short, I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I think they're really doing some cool shit.
I am going to agree. And the addition of Rashid Shaheed, although I don't know how it'll net out for fantasy purposes outside of helping Sam Darnold continue to have what we talked about before the podcast, Evan, he has like the 4th highest pass
net yards per attempt, I think it was.
Yeah. Since like 1953. It's him, Otto Graham, Norm Van Brocklin, and Kurt Warner. What a crazy group for the Ginger Jesus to be mixed in with. And I'm a big Sam Darnold guy. I'm hoping they rock the old school unis. The Steve Largent old school.
I don't think they are, unfortunately.
Man,
they should just be the primary uniforms because, in my opinion, they're the best uniforms in the league. But whatever.
I mean, you have the powder blues.
I love the lime green ones, dude.
That's like
I like them like once or twice a year.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You break that out like on a Thursday night,
right?
Bring a little energy. But hopefully, we brought some energy to you guys. Hopefully, you're getting all ready for Week 11. And guys, we'll have to figure out what we're going to do for Week 13. I'm sure we'll all be here next week, but that's the day after Thanksgiving. So maybe we'll I have an idea. Maybe we can do something really cool. We'll talk about that offline, but we're going to get out of here. A lot going on. Jonny, any final words of wisdom?
No, thanks guys for watching the show. See a lot of regular viewers. Shout out Jamie Prog, always showing love in the chat and always being a true pal. Give us all a follow. You got Evan Ringler FF, DWZ Memphis, and at Fantasy Picasso. Follow us all on X. And if you like the show, give it a thumbs up and comment any questions you got that we didn't get to. And make sure you're subscribed to Player Profiler. This is why we get out of bed every day. We got jobs, but this is why we get out of bed every day.
Yeah, I ran straight from my job to do this. Evan, any of the final words of wisdom?
Go Hawks and go play on Fast Draft. Go play DFS on Fast Draft. It's the best place to play DFS. That's a great one. Go play the quick 6 game. I love both, but quick Absolutely. 6 and that multiplier makes it so much more of a skill game than your standard DFS. When you have that 2x spot and you're debating between Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, and Jonathan Taylor when he's not on bye, is like that's the tricky part. That's the fun part, and that's what makes it special and different than other DFS style gaming sites. So check out Fast Draft. Check out these guys. We'll be back next week, and thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.